All right. Welcome, everybody, to this first session of the afternoon. I hope you all enjoyed your lunch. My name is Toby. I'm chairing this session, and we've got three speakers. The first of whom is Marion Weinzierl of the University of Cambridge, who's going to talk to us about why, I suppose, we should stop pretending to be unicorns. Over to you, Marion.
Yeah, thank you very much. Just to start off, I was asked a couple of questions by people who saw my talk. So the first one, yes, you're still allowed to wear the unicorn T-shirt. And the second one, no, this is not about million-dollar startups. So my talk is about the RSE unicorn. And those of you who don't know it, it was designed by Kristen Merritt. And I think it was in Newcastle 2022 when we were sitting at the registration desk and chatting, and she was like, "Oh, I really would like to put this on the spreadshirt store. And so, do you think people would like it?" And I think it was Terry Forey at that point, and me and somebody else. And so we were like, "Yes, go for it. Put it there. People will like it." And so now we've got unicorn mugs and unicorn T-shirts and all of this. I am sometimes struggling a bit with, okay, what do you actually mean if you say unicorn, and what do people identify with in the unicorn as our RSE mascot? So, and I was more going back to what we call eierlegende Wollmilchsau in German. So basically an animal that does everything you need. So it gives you the eggs and the milk and everything. And we were, when I studied computer science, we are kind of warned when building software that it does not end to be something like this that tries to be everything and tries to solve every solution, but that we should kind of focus on like a thing that we're doing well. And you might have seen it in the Emergent Voices talk, the Linux principle of doing one thing well. I will get back to this, but first of all, just because I put it in my abstract, so very shortly get over, okay, what has RSE achieved and why is it great, and why might we think, oh, we are all kind of magical creatures and we are kind of these unicorns that can help solve all the problems, or so will come in and be admired. And this is stolen from a society slide, just briefly going over when in 2012 at the collaboration workshop, the term RSE was coined over the first RSE groups, the first conference and so, but also when the UK RSE Association was founded and then later transferred to be a society, a charitable society, and all the great things that come with it. So, I mean, Simon Hedrick has talked about it being like this recognized job title now, and other professions aspiring to do something similar and having the same sense of community and recognition. And so, really, I mean, there is really a lot that we can be proud of. So there are now associations all over the world. There are groups all over the UK and other countries as well. There are not only RSECon, but other conferences already all over the world. And we have the RTPs now, at least here in the UK, which are trying to build on the success and try to raise the recognition of their field, basically aspiring to achieving what the RSE movement has achieved. So I think this is all great. All great. I love being an RSE. So why do I think that we should not pretend to be unicorns? And I will go, and I apologize in advance, these are very text-heavy slides, go through a couple of things that I have heard various people saying have seen happening in central RSE groups and at universities or so when it came to working with RSEs. And I will start with looking into what the researchers say, and there I will have a bit of a differentiation between, is the researcher someone who's a computational researcher, so where the software is part of the research itself, or a non-computational researcher who wants to have a piece of software, maybe a web app or so, built for them to support their research. So the computational researcher side, I've heard a lot of these. So there's often a lot of frustration around, okay, do I really get my money's worth? So I was promised there's an RSE and they are working this amount of time, and I've got this allocation, but I don't think this is really happening. And also the RSE is not really always doing what I want them to do. They are just focusing on different things, which are not as important to me. And also my code base is really, really complex, and they don't really understand it, and they need weeks to get up to speed. And actually, I've got a postdoc who's much, much better in all these things. And I think all this RSE malarkey just doesn't work for me. So for what I'm doing, an RSE isn't working, and that's not great. And also our funding consults now start to throw money at RSEs and RTPs and so on. They should much rather focus on what I actually need as a researcher. Then on the other side, the non-computational researcher might be much more removed and much less interested in what the RSE is actually doing on a day-to-day basis. They don't feel threatened by somebody coming in and telling them how to change their working or their coding or so, but they just want this bit of this piece of software written, and they don't want to be constantly contacted about it. And also, and that's happened to me, the second one, when I was working with somebody in like international economy or so, when we asked, or when I asked about co-authorship on their paper, the answer was like, yeah, but if I use Word or this other tool, so I don't put the software developer on that paper, and you don't know what my research is about. So how could you be a co-author on this paper if you're actually not contributing to the actual research about this? And then, of course, this never-ending thing about, oh yeah, we have implemented the software, and now there are problems with the software because some versions updated and so on, it's no longer working. So please, can you just fix this for me? Yeah, so things might not always be as nice or as brilliant as we would like it to from the researcher's side. So, and then there's the RSE, who's kind of working in this environment. And I have heard so many RSEs saying, okay, I'm always feeling guilty. I'm always feeling I'm not doing enough. If I'm working on that project, I'm not working on the other. If I'm doing this, which is really important, I'm not doing that. And I'm going to these meetings, and I'm really scared of these weekly meetings or so, because I just can see the disappointment in the PI's eyes already. And so, because again, I've not achieved what they would want me to achieve. And maybe it's also that it's not my main field of expertise I'm working in, and I really would like to be in this field. And my team lead has put me on that project because I mentioned I really want to know more about that, and I want to work on that. But my progress is slower, and then again, the researcher is unhappy because my progress is slower, and it just all feels really, really bad. And then, yeah, I've got a couple of other things on there around researchers being slow and getting back, or actually setting you up with all the things, and then you've got a half-year project and you're already 1.5 months in, and you feel like you've actually not achieved anything. the RSE manager side is also not great. So they have this team of RSEs, and they've hired them because they think they are great, and so. But now they have like 5 projects on this, and all the people with the best skills in there have been assigned there. But then comes the 6th project in that field, and they kind of have to put another person on that, because they really don't want to say no. There are complaints everywhere, and they have to get funding in. They have to get the stakeholders support, and so it's just really difficult to get everything under one head, basically. And also then there's this great RSE community, and you really want to be part of that and contributing to that, but who pays for that? And how can I get my people in there? So overall, I don't know, everybody is unhappy. So what can we do about that? I don't have the solution, fortunately, but I've got some thoughts. And one of these thoughts might be controversial, but I think we actually need to specialize more in some parts, and also to be more aware of, okay, who are we working with? As I said before, the computational researcher might need an RSE who's really heavy on the research side, so have a bold R basically in their RSE. I've seen at universities that they recruited people for specific projects, so that they had embedded RSEs, and for example, Durham is doing that. They have people who are sitting both in the department and in the central group, and were recruited specifically for this project. So that is working well. If you really need someone who knows about the field and who maybe knows the kind of code bases and data sets you're working with. If you have a non-computational researcher, then maybe they need somebody who's not as heavy on the research side in that field, but somebody who can really professionally create this piece of software, maybe, yeah, a database or a web app, and so. And then in terms of RSE teams, I'm wondering whether actually small RSE groups need to find a specialism that they then offer. For example, being a web development team, being an HPC team, and not trying to be everything for everyone, and then kind of, yeah, failing to, in many cases, to have the resources and so to do any kind of RSE work. I think in big universities that is working really well, and it, of course, works in many regards, but also I think a lot of the frustration comes from just mismatching expectations, because the researchers are expecting the RSE basically to be able to do exactly what they need. Then communication, I think we all agree that this is key. You have to be really clear and honest about what you can offer and what the people can do. There are so various RSE groups have templates or example guidelines, or so that you can pick up on, and so and say like, okay, this is what we do, this is exactly how it's going to work, but also this is what we can't do. And it's easy to get really enthusiastic, and this is what RSEs can do in general, but you have to know your team, and you have to really know, okay, I know what they can do. And also say no if there's a project and you don't think you can handle or can work on that project in a really good way. And in a previous job, I had a manager who kept saying like, oh, this is a good problem to have, when we were all at like 120% commitment. So like, it's really not. It does not feel good, because you come into a state where you say like, yeah, just give me another project. So it doesn't matter anymore. I'm not getting any project done in the way anyway. And use the RSE community, use the RSE Slack. Just ask a question if you're not right if you're not sure how things can work, or where are the guidelines, where are the templates. So there's a lot out there already. And the last point I've got on here, you have to be really clear with people who apply as well. So especially when they come from industry, because we're kind of giving out this image of, oh, it's the best of both worlds. So you're in academia, but you don't have to do all the paper writing, and you're not in industry, so you're a bit freer. And so, but it's, yeah, it's important to make it clear to people who come new into RSE to tell them what RSE is really like, and how all the context switching can be difficult, and what the expectations are also from the academic side. A lot what I see as well is a bit of this us versus them. So I know there are a lot of us who came into RSE from an academic pathway, and it did not really work out for one reason or the other, so they now feel like academic is kind of shit, and they want to not do it that way. And so, and that's really unhelpful and doesn't really make us popular among a lot of the academics. So they feel in academia, or in the RSE community, there are some people going around and just telling everyone how much better RSE is, and how all the research system and academic system doesn't work for them. So personally, I'd say it's better to say, okay, we've got people who are paid for spending the time on the software. That doesn't mean that they are like the really great person who can do everything in software. And so, also don't be very, very prescriptive about how things are worked. So if you build a software which is great and has all the things that RSEs like, but the academic cannot use it, that's not much sense as well. Mike will talk about mental health later, so I won't talk too much about that. So I used to work in industry for 2 years. There were a lot of things that I didn't like, but the one thing that I really liked and that I felt was a big difference was people were happy to say, I don't know, and happy to say, I don't know, ask this other person. And in academia, this is not so well regarded. And so I think we should be all much happier to say, I can't do that, and I don't know. And also we should just accept that RSEs aren't like superheroes who can do everything, but they can do certain things quite well. Because yeah, everybody will be unhappy. Let's go back to unicorns a bit. So I went down a bit of a rabbit hole. So what else could we be? Maybe we could be like My Little Pony. So each of us has this little thing, this little label that shows what their specialism is or so. And we're all like a happy community solving the problems together. Maybe we're just some sort of different types of horses or other animals, or more like builders who solve a problem. Or maybe just some type of other mythical creature, maybe hybrids of some sort. I spent a lot of time looking at different pictures here. I decided not to find this one animal that will represent us. But maybe we should just go back to our unicorn. And I then went to Kristen and asked her, what did you actually think? Why a unicorn? And she sent me a longer email, and at the end of the email she said, oh, use this quote, which left out a bit of what she had written in a longer email, but the quote was this. In 2021, I was running the message boards at the virtual September RSE conference. One of the questions was, what do you think the role of an RSE is? And the answers were all manner of varied. RSEs can be broad, specialized teachers, sysadmins, software developers, trainers, project managers, and even therapists, all at the same time. There isn't a one-size-fits-all format you can fit an RSE into. It made me realize that to be an RSE is to be a bit magical and very, very unique. I also realized that as an RSE, you can't take things too seriously. In fact, if you did, it would break the best of us. And from all that, the RSE unicorn was born. In the email, she also said, originally, she was looking at the chimera, like this lion, I thought it was a goat, but it's maybe a dragon, snake thingy, hybrid thing, but she thought that was maybe not as positive as a unicorn would be, so she ended up with using the unicorn. I was told by the reviewers of my abstract that I should take more time for questions and less time speaking. So I would actually like to know what you people are thinking about this, because as I said, these are just some thoughts, and I'm not sure. I'm a really big fan of embedded RSEs. I think they are really, in many ways, in computational teams, very much the way forward. But what do people think about specialized teams? What do people think about issues in communication? And also, I skipped over that a bit. Maybe the academic at RSE path, career pathways can be interwoven a bit better so that people can switch back and forth and not say, oh, the others are the bad ones. We don't want to go over there. And do you have any idea what would be better than a unicorn? So please use the Slido and let me know what you're thinking.
Marion. All right, so taking the top voted question for now while we give people time to add in their thoughts as well. So Jack asks, is there a way we, question mark, could better educate researchers on the benefits of better research practices that take up time and prepare their expectations other than trying to do so, I guess, on the project?
Yeah, I believe that this kind of work has been done again a bit in certain RSE groups. So I believe that people like Chris Woods and Bristol do have presentations that try to do this education and do this. This can happen if you don't RSE type of scare them approach. If you, I think, yeah, having these templates and sharing these things beforehand and so can be useful for preparing their expectations. And I know a lot of places also go around departments and give little talks and case studies. And what I found is really useful when you do that is have some people in that department who already did the project with you and are quite happy, and let them do a bit of talking so that it's actually coming from their peers rather than from an external part.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thank you. I think I've got a question for the helpers before we go on. As we're collecting like comments that are not questions in here, is there going to be a way to save those so that we don't lose them after the Slido gets cleared, or will they'll disappear?
They can just be marked as answered.
Okay, great. Nice. So we'll be able to keep a record of them. Thanks. So I see a question about your point related to computational researchers. What do you think of combining RSEs from central or embedded teams and PDRAs recruited for the project by the researchers department? I don't know what a PDRA is, but I'm hoping that Marion does.
Yes.
Yeah, okay, great.
Postdoctoral research associate.
Okay.
Let me just quickly read through that. Yeah, I think that's a bit similar to having embedded RSEs, and I think it can be really useful to have this working together, because if you're working with postdocs in the team and really doing this close work on the code together, that can be mutually beneficial. So you can teach the postdocs more about the software bit, and they can teach you more about the domain parts. So, and also if you have this common goal, so you can convince the PI that actually you should also work on the documentation and these kind of unnecessary time-consuming bits that don't lead to papers.
Thank you. So a few more comments here. Generally, people responding nicely to the talk. Trying to pick out the questions. Right. In your experience, how easy is it for individual RSEs assigned to particular projects to talk to others in the RSE team, so to gain suggestions or advice from other team members, so the team can act collectively as a unicorn, even if the individuals can't, I suppose.
So if I understand that correctly, that is having an embedded RSE assigned to a project, but being part of the wider RSE team. So the model that I've seen in Durham is that the embedded RSE has a desk in both places. So so they are sitting maybe half of the week in the RSE office, and the other half they are sitting with the researchers. So that way there is this easy collaboration in both ways. So they are basically part of both teams. And then, of course, also in all the RSE team meetings, as well as the project meetings as well.
And then Milan asks about the danger of like over specialization, and that maybe suggests that maybe the balance might be teams that have both specialists and generalists in them.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think also, of course, some people really enjoy getting very deep into one thing, and are really getting a lot out of that, while others like to double in various things and like to be a bridge as well, and use knowledge from one field in another field. There's again no one size fits all, and if you've got the resource in your team to do that, that's great. But if your team is 2 or 3 RSEs, that can get difficult.
Okay, thanks. I guess we've got time for one more, probably. So as a former embedded RSE who felt a bit lonely and joined a central group, how do we try and encourage research groups to set up embedded positions with strong links to a central group so they don't feel isolated?
If your RSE team, your central team, is quite visible, people might actually approach you and ask, I want to hire someone. Can you sit on the hiring committee? Can you be part of the interview panel? Or can you help select a software person for my group? So that's when you're actually already at that level that people know that you're around. I think one quite heavy lever is funding. So if funding councils are putting out these things and say, okay, there can be RSE, or there should be RSE parts in these projects, then they will start doing that. And then again, going around the departments, going around and trying to really lobby for this work, and show, okay, this is what you can do, and this is case studies where it already worked well. And then there are, various places. I think Birmingham as well as this system where they have the possibility that people can have the link into that central group. I'm a fan as well of getting people hooked by hackathons and these kinds of events, so that people get along.
Okay, Thanks, Marion. Still more comments and questions in the Slido. Please find Marion in the breaks to keep discussing this. Let's have another round of applause and we'll bring up the next.